Hey everybody, Pete A. Turner, executive producer and host of your Break It Down show. I wanted to do today's live teaser intro, plus this will also be recorded on the regular show intro as well, and I record everything on my Zoom H6 with my Shure SM microphone headset. Hey, here's the guest today. Her name is Raie, and she's Scottish, and she sings country music. Pretty cool. You go to Raie Music, R-A-I-E music.com, and you will get to learn more about what she does. She's also on Bandcamp, so check out Raie there. If you have any questions or anything at all of the answers can be found in the show notes, breakitdownshow.com. She'll be the headline show for the next 24 hours. You can always go here to the YouTube channel, and you can also see things there. All right, who is Raie? Well, she's a musician. She plays soul music. She plays country music, and she's Scottish. That's all great. We got her because our good friend Wes Maebe, the Wesenator, is a producer of her last album, Riding the Healin Train. And so we have the two of them on, plus Jon doing the primary hosting duties. I'm there to shout out from the background because they got it covered. But I think you're going to love this episode because Raie is powerful. All you got to do is go listen to some of her music and you will get it right away. Well, we love her so much. And of course, anybody who's ever heard Wes do his work, listen to our episode with Matt Hoy, listen to any of the Wes Maebe episodes, and you will get why we love Wes so much. He's fantastic. Hey, if you love what we're doing here, please support the show by subscribing. It always helps to do that. Sharing the episodes, commenting under the episodes. All of these things are like cash to us. It's true. It's hard to compete in the world of podcasts. We're getting bigger and better all the time. I have some huge guests coming up. You're going to love them. Just as an example, if you're new to the show, this week we have Peter Van Buren talking about the COVID breakout. He's a New York-based former State Department guy who's an author and does all kinds of great things. Today it's Wes and Raie. Tomorrow it's Peter Jang, who's a screenwriter slash stuntman slash actor who's actively working in Hollywood. Just to stay with that theme, we'll have Billy Samoa Salibi on, and he also is connected to Hollywood, has a podcast. You will love him. And then there's Brad Johnson talking about intel stuff because you know how we like to go spy versus spy. That's coming up. So many great episodes coming up. You're going to love it. Oh, and by the way, next week we have two fighting legends. It's a week full of legends. But we have Don Fry and Frank Shamrock are both coming up. That doesn't excite you. I don't know what to do. Hey, subscribe. BreakItDownShow.com. Go there. Get on the mailing list. Let you know when the shows come out. Okay. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to say one more thing. You know, around here we have a powerful charity charter, and we select, as always, Save the Brave, savethebrave.org. We help veterans with PTSD get through those tough times, build community around them, give them some purpose, and get them to work. So if you want to help, that's a place you can go. Savethebrave.org. Your time, your attention, your money, any little thing is going to be more than what we had today, and we greatly appreciate it. All right. Here comes Raie and Wes.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is
East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Marotta.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is Jon Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
This is Raie, and you're listening to the Break It Down show.
And now, the Break It Down show with Jon Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
All right, Raie, otherwise known as Rachel Bennett, is an artist, a singer, songwriter, and joining us along with Raie is our good friend Wes Maebe, the Wesenator. They're working together, which goes a long way, and we're excited to hear what it is you come up with. Now, Raie, you tell us your very interesting story about how you and Wes became co-writers. Is it safe to say co-writers? Are you giving him some credit for the creative process?
I think, yeah, that's definitely increasing. And there's some co-writing on the album, which is great. Okay. But when I met Wes, it was kind of 2014, Wes, maybe 13, 14.
Was it? Oh, might be longer than that.
Maybe 12, yeah. and we got together because Wes was recommended to me by a friend whose some brother-in-law had played bass in the studio with Wes recording, and down at Rack. And I don't even know which band that was. It was Phil Greenwood's brother-in-law. So Nashville Phil, Wes?
Nashville Phil, indeed.
Yeah. So he recommended, because I was looking for a producer to do an EP, and as soon as I met Wes, I just thought he was the right guy. So he straightened out some of the recordings that we'd done with someone else, and it went really well. The EP was such a lovely success, and the single that came out from that, "Talking About You," did really well. So then I just had so much fun working with Wes that I felt like we could go further. And I'd written a lot of stuff, so we talked about doing an album. Yeah, it went from there.
So I want to tell our listeners, first of all, you should go to raiemusic.com, and it's spelled RAIE music.com. You can hear songs, you can read a bio, contact info, all of that stuff. Now, I want to point you there, and I want you to listen to things because, dear listeners, what you're going to find is that Raie is a soulful, bluesy country music artist. Don't let the accent fool you. All of those things. So, Wes, let me ask you, what was it that made Raie exciting to work with for you? What?
Well, obviously the voice immediately
Starting point, yeah.
came out. You know me, I like a lot of different styles of music and stuff, and you know, if there's a bit of Americana and country to be had, I'm there. You know, but it's been quite a long journey for Raie, I think, to get to where we are now. Because you know, the EP was lovely, and there was, you know, I think the EP was maybe more sort of soul, but there were like slight jazzy influences there and stuff like that. And it's been a long journey to find the more Americana, more country rock kind of vibe, which is a lot more obvious in this album than on the EP. But yeah, it's just the musicality and the storytelling. Raie's not just a singer who sings a song. She has to tell a story, and every song has a very big story and a very big topic attached to it. So, you know, if you listen to the lyrics, you know, some of it's not for the faint-hearted. Some of the topics are quite heavy duty. But you know, we're getting through a lot of that stuff, and we're also dealing with, you know, very relevant topics, suicide and murder and false imprisonment and all that stuff, interweaved with some joyful, happy stuff as well. So it's always a journey, which is really what I enjoy in the music. It's like, you know, it's not just a musical journey, it's a massive emotional journey as well.
Is this catharsis for you, Raie, to some degree, and as it is with many artists, or are you projecting topics onto our listeners that are timely and topical and all of that, or is this work that you're doing pure catharsis for you? Where are you on the scale there?
I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. I felt that it was important to fight for the right or fight for truth. That's kind of stayed with me, and in the music that I listened to then, and I kind of grew up with protest singers and people like Dylan and Baez and people like that. And
Yeah.
I've found that music like that's always really moved me, and I've always felt like it was important to listen to the stories and the lyrics. But on top of that, I kind of tend to respond to things that have happened around me or that I've been involved in, even family things. But I think maybe, sometimes I get told a story or something happens, and the only way that I can respond is to write a song because the thing moves me too much, or I feel I need to tell everyone. So it's kind of a bit of both, really.
You know, the thing that Americans, at least those of us who have paid attention, have found is that Wes mentioned Americana. There's a certain way that that folks in the UK take American influenced music and give it back to us better than they heard it. And you know, that's an admission from somebody who loves rock and roll. If there are, Wes, some sonic influences that you heard working with Raie and from Raie as she belted out songs and emoted for you, can you name some artists that you think probably influenced Raie and that that turned you on to working with her?
Oh my God! Well, I think in the recent album, it's probably a good melting pot of influences, and I'm probably largely to blame as well, bringing some of that stuff to the table. But I always go. I mean, we've talked about all those amazing recordings and stuff like that, and I always go back to things like Steely Dan and the Eagles and the Doobie Brothers and all that stuff. So I think that's kind of what we try to pour into this album. The initial EP, I would say, just stands apart from that because it came to me as a finished recording, which needed a little bit of TLC to get to where it needed to be. But over the years, it's just gone more. Eagles, Doobie Brothers, Steely Dan, all those amazing records and just immaculately engineered and produced things that probably influence both of us.
Yeah.
And a lot of the players involved as well.
You mentioned Steely Dan. Did I hear correctly that Elliot Randall played on this record?
Yeah, Elliot played on the EP.
On the EP, okay.
Yeah.
Raie, how was that working with someone who's you didn't say that they were an influence for you. Wes, I think, said sonically that's what he was hearing. How was that for you?
I mean, I think that was incredible, and it was wonderful to meet Elliot, and it was amazing. The guitar work that he put on the songs shifted the feel, and I think he even helped me realise where I needed to be going with what I was writing, what Wes did with the EP. I mean, some of the stuff we kind of stripped back and almost reworked again. That definitely helped me understand my own songs. It's a crazy thing, you can write songs and still not be fully aware of exactly what it is you've written. And I think that's the beauty of collaborating with people, that sometimes it takes someone else to come along to you and say, did you hear this? Did you hear what you've written? But obviously not say the words, just put something to it, a beat or some guitar parts, and you hear something that's liberating. So, the way that I kind of reworked some of the singing over some of them. Goliath, talking about you, did we redo that? We did
a little bit, yeah.
Wax and Wayne, yeah, we redid some of the vocals because the music had changed and it just felt different and much easier. And the thing about instrumental behind your voice, any singer will tell you this, that if you get the right people working to play with, to sing with, your voice gets freed up. It really gets freed up. And if I listen to my voice on the EP, there's some nice songs on there, but if I listen to it on the album now, I feel like it's much more free. I feel more like myself. And so I think, those influences, those guitar parts and people hearing that was really, really helpful. And it's just catapulted me into a whole new, an era of creativity. I keep saying Wes songs, and Wes has said, I mean, we've written a couple more songs since then that they're going on album number 2. But it just feels like a really positive musical vibe, as well as a lovely friendship. It's a very positive musical vibe. And so I think bringing Elliot and John Klein onto stuff earlier on the EP was a huge influence and has helped me do something I've never done before. I've never really let people in on my writing, and I've learned that that's it's a much better idea to let people in and help you. Yeah.
All right, especially when you have a cast like that. That's quality help.
Oh yeah, I'm very aware of that. Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, without meeting Wes, I think my journey might have gone in a very different direction. It's been incredible, and I'm thankful.
I say that frequently as well. Wes, and that's just because of how much we like burritos.
That's right.
Wes, when you tracked this album, did you start with music, and did you bring did you bring Raie in last to lay on top of the music, or how did you track this sequentially speaking? How did you record this album?
We recorded everything as live as possible. So,
All right.
well, we had the luxury of, because Raie teaches at Goldsmiths, and they have their own recording studio.
Uh-huh.
So we had the luxury of being in that room. It's got a very nice console, got some good mics. Obviously, I bring a lot of my own stuff as well. But the way the rooms are laid out allows you to record drums, guitars, and bass at the same time. So that rhythm bed went down live with Raie in the control room with me laying down a guide track. So, that allowed for everybody to get a feel for the music, for the emotion of the music. And then, once everything was laid down, we went back, and the odd overdub, an acoustic guitar here, some percussion there, Fender Rhodes or a piano.
Yeah.
But,
not a lot.
generally everything went down live.
Yeah. That sounds terrific. Raie, what was the process like for you compared to other recordings you've done in the past? I mean, it's nice to have accompaniment that's able-bodied and people who can contribute, like you mentioned. But as far as the recording process itself, what do you think that lent to the work?
Being in the room with the guys live was just such a vital experience. And it's not, I've done kind of stuff like that sometimes, but mostly, I mean, my studio experience in the past has been background vocals for a lot of people, and it's a really different, quite a clinical process. I mean, way back, I was doing reel to reel, like 3 girls maybe on mics and singing live and getting it right first time type thing. But that was a long time ago, and then studios have changed a lot. Well, I'm sure you all know, but this was lovely because it was very organic, and just being in the room, in the control room with Wes, looking through the glass and seeing the guys vibing and coming back in and having a listen and all being very, very present in that process was just great. It's just so wonderful. Then, I mean, John Klein was around even still when I was putting down my lead vocals and able to kind of talk about what those vocals are helping him think about in terms of other guitar parts that might go on. There was still some sharing of ideas and toing and froing, even at the point when I was putting down my leads. And that was lovely too, because it just felt like it didn't feel closed and clinical and compartmentalized like it can do in a studio. It felt very open and warm and free, kind of like a live gig. And the nice thing about that studio is there's a lot of daylight in there, and there's a carpet that my greyhound loves. So we kind of felt like we were home. We felt like we were in our house. It was really cool. It's just such a nice vibe, and the assistants are nice. You get tea and all that. It's a warm studio. It's got a good vibe, which all helps. But I think that, again, I'm going to say in praise of Wes, you create a really good vibe, Wes. There's no tension. There's no tension. Tension's a killer when you're recording through your voice. It's just not great. So it's wonderful to be in that vibe. And the more we went in, and we kind of did maybe like 2 or 3 songs every few months over a period of almost 2 years. We did 2 or 3 songs over a Saturday and a Sunday, and we just kind of lived in there for hours and hours and hours. It was great. And that was lovely too, because we felt like it was growing. We felt it growing. Like Chris Bell on the kit was coming in and was talking about not just playing the kit for different songs, but having this whole feel over the album, this rhythmic feel over the album. And you can really hear that when you listen to the album. There's a very defined sound on the rhythm section that is right for the songs. But even though some of the songs are quite upbeat and others are more serious and maybe, quite downbeat, you still get that really energized kit on it, and it is really beautiful. So having people there and having that continuity was just magic. Yeah.
Well, okay. I don't think anyone's ever accused Wes of being clinical. So I think you went to the right place. But Wes, how much, I want to explore the word tension, because you use the word tension, Raie. How much do you want to take away tension, and how much do you want to leave there? Because some of that is energy, and some of that energy comes across on recording. Are you playing with that with Raie? Because she's got experience, and how much would you be playing with that tension with another artist, or does the music lend itself to any of that?
Well, I think Raie will be all right with me telling this story, but there's one particular story about a song, and funnily enough, it's the song that only has piano on it. It doesn't have any drums or anything else on it. Just grand piano, Raie's voice, and I did a couple of classical guitar lines over it later on. You know, the song's about her mum. You know, she's been singing this song forever. We know it inside out. We've seen it live. There is actually a live recording of it that we did, and it's fine and it's cool and it's lovely. But when we were in the studio, Raie was singing it, and you know, she was singing it well, but somehow it wasn't gripping me like it usually does. And I don't know why I did this, but it was later in the day. I turned all the lights off in the control room so she couldn't see me. And I said, tell me the story of the song. And she went through the whole story. And at the end of it, she started crying. And we were all crying in the control room. And I said, okay, now sing it. And you can hear that. And it's pure passion, pure heartfelt stuff. So, you know, maybe that's not talking about tension, but it's talking about emotion. And you know, half of me felt bad for pushing her that far, but the other half was like, yeah, come on. Now we've got it. Yeah. You know, and it was the one take. It was the one that ended up being the lead vocal, you know, and it kind of weaves in and out. You know, sometimes the guys are just spot on and they nail it. And sometimes, you know, there's a curveball in there that they need to deal with. You know, there was a song, it was a couple of songs, me with my ridiculous ideas. I put in a couple of time signature changes and it threw Chris Bell, the drummer, threw him a little bit on the day. You know, because you're going from 4/4 into 3/4 or into 6/8, and it's a bit of a mind fuck, unless you're like a full-on prog drummer, and then it's fine. But it threw him for a little bit, and he was getting annoyed with himself, up to the point where he just went in and bam, nailed it. It's like, yeah, you know, you can do it. Just keep going.
That's tension.
Yeah, that was tension.
Yes, that was tension. Raie, is that how you remember the story that Wes described, or do you have anything to add? How was it for you?
Great opportunity to remember why I wrote the song, and I think sometimes what happens, and actually the way Wes led up to that story is part of the issue, because sometimes if you play a song, and I originally played that song with a band who were beautiful people, but the music wasn't the same. And I think sometimes what happens is you write a song, everyone thinks if you're a singer-songwriter, you write material and it's all just really flowing and everything's great. But it's not like that. The songs can be elusive and they leave you, you know, for a minute, or they can disappear out of your emotional memory. It's a bit like being an actor, and I did train as an actor many years ago. So kind of someone putting me through some emotional stress wasn't totally new, but I think I'd need to trust that person, and I do trust Wes a lot. So it didn't feel unkind or uncomfortable, and I kind of realised why it was happening. But I bought into it immediately, and that felt okay, felt really fine. And the telling the story about my mum and the memories of all of that is so real. It's still very present, that the minute I started to talk about that, the sense of the lyric just returned. And so you I guess you can't hide that in the timbre of your voice. You know, the truth will out, as they say. So
Right.
yeah, I think that's what you're hearing is the truth. And it was really lovely to, you know, I'd do that anytime. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you're making a point about the importance of a producer and artist having a trust for each other,
Oh, big
being
time.
willing to go to those places and explore those emotions and capture them.
Mm.
So if there's anything I want our listeners to get excited about, it's about the fact that you guys have that relationship where you can really be expressive and where the expression really matters. And again, I want to point our listeners to raiemusic.com. It's RAIE music.com. So you can read about Raie, and you can. What else can you do on that site? Can you buy the album? When's the album out? When's
You have to go to Bandcamp right now, and I've got this guy. This is a little bit of a sad story, actually. I had the website made by a young man who sadly got killed in a motorbike accident last year, and it's been quite a trial to sort out getting into the site and going into the back of it and everything. But I found a guy, Pete Arnstein, who's for me, but it's taken a while to find the right person. But you can go in and you can hear some tracks, and you can get onto SoundCloud from there and listen to the whole album, and you can buy the album on Bandcamp. So yeah, that's where we're at.
So everybody go do that.
Yeah.
Wes, how quickly did you get comfortable working with Raie on that level?
Pretty much immediately. I mean, I remember when we started the EP, she just, popped down here and the little mix room that I'm sitting at now and in the back of my garden. And there used to be a lovely pub across the street. And if it was summer, you could just sit outside and have something to eat and watch the world go by and probably get smoke poisoning from London traffic. But it was just immediately, click, just hang out, talk about everything, tell me the stories of the music. I need to know what it's about and stuff like that. It was like, brother sister kind of vibe. Sister I never had.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a recording nerd question then. If you could take Raie to any room, any studio in the world that you think would suit her and suit her process, where would you take her?
Wow, just the one?
Well, let's explore. I mean, pick one for a piece of work, and if there's something else that you think would be suited somewhere else, tell us about it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna pick two over here. I'm gonna say Rack and British Grove. In the States, I want to say Village Recorder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Village Recorder. And, Pete was there.
I know. He told me.
Why Village Recorder?
Well, hey, it's always been a dream of mine to work there.
Sure.
But it's just such a beautiful place. I mean, and there's that crazy link with Elliot Randall again. I mean, we got to get this dude on the show. That's where he recorded Reeling in the Years. So there's that link. It's a gorgeous building. Jeff Greenberg's a dude. So many amazing records have been made there, and it's one of those old style, vintage, vibey places. You just walk in there and you just sniff the air and you go, yeah, cool shit was done here. So
in that room, yeah.
And it's not far from the ocean, so that's cool too.
Raie, I'll push the question to you. Are there any studios in particular where if I just gave you an unlimited budget and said, let's really go for it, record wherever you want, take Wes with you, where would you go?
Well, I'd like to go to Rack Studios. Maybe I'd go down to Tennessee to Stax. I don't know.
Okay.
Ooh.
History. I don't know what that was.
I think that room's a museum now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm going for. I want to know what kind of vibe you're really into.
Recently, wasn't she? Frazee Ford did her something down there, and they made a nice job of that. Her
All
song.
right.
And
I know David Porter still has a studio in Memphis, and it's not in the original Stax building. But he's still there, and he's still got a studio that he's been in for a number of years. So, sure, let's put you there. Where else?
That would make me very happy. And then I did Metropolis as a young woman with some big bands, and I'd like to do that for the memory of that, because for us then that was a big deal. We were really like, wow, we're singing with KLF and Metropolis, and it was really cool. Things that have led to me. I've done a lot of little crummy studios as well, and you get them back and you do a lot of crummy studios.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. They'd be cool, those ones.
I think we should go to Blackbird as well.
Okay.
Wes, where do you think Raie is headed? What kind of projects do you see for her going down the road? And I'm asking you this question first because I don't want your answer to be limited by what she wants to do. If you were her A&R, where would you take her career? Where would you take her artistry? What would you make her do 2, 3, 4 albums from now.
If I was her A&R, I would be an A&R. It's hard for me to say because, you know, I'm just the guy who wants to hole up in a recording studio and put microphones in front of people. So going back to what you said earlier, John, about the, you know, Americans giving British people their music and then they get it back done better. You know, that's kind of, you know, where I see her going. That's what you said. And it's funny that you mentioned that because it's what Chris Bell, drummer, and John Klein, guitarist, and I have been talking about. You know, when Ray's done her recording and I'm isolated in here by myself and mixing stuff, I get the guys to come over and have a listen and stuff because it's always good to have an extra set of ears. And I trust those guys implicitly. They both brought that up as well. They said, you know, it's like it's so cool because it's country, but it's country done with an English kind of attitude, you know. So, you know, I think obviously her music is very well suited for the American market, and you know, I'd like to see Ray break that market open. That would be really cool, and I think that's where she wants to go as well. Anyway, so you know, and we're you know we're in the process of writing already, and a lot of the songs on this album existed. They were just kind of, you know, massaged a little bit and poured into a new jacket. So but this new material is going to be fresh.
Hey, this is P.A. Turner from Lions Rock Productions. We create podcasts around here, and if you, your brand, or your company want to figure out how to do a podcast, just talk to me. I'll give you the advice on the right gear, the best plan, and show you how to take a podcast that makes sense for you, that's sustainable, that's scalable, and fun. Hit me up at pete@breakitdownshow.com. Let me help. I want to hear about it.
But this new material is going to be fresh. I can just see it going more country, more Americana, country rock.
Sorry?
Is that true? Do you think it's in that direction?
Yeah. I would like to be heard by Americans because I think because of my Scottish and Irish roots, I understand country music from a young age. We in fact, our heritage is that we're a part of that music, you know, in a big way, going back in time, obviously. And I think I understand it, and I think it understands me, and I think I've got a lot to say that would be appreciated by American audiences.
Tell us Americans why it is you identify with country music much, and what part of that rich history, you know, speaks to you and had a Scottish contribution.
Okay, in the past, obviously, Celts and Celtic music was an influence in bluegrass, going back to times when people, you can hear the kind of simple melodic influence that Scottish ballads had on that. And I think that's still with me, and I think it's in my songs. Yeah, so it's accessible for me. I think it's accessible, and I'm not pretending I'm coming from somewhere real.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up just outside the city of Glasgow, and on a Saturday night in Glasgow, you hear a lot of country music. It's something I grew up with. Irish and Scots are nuts for country music, and I think they're nuts for it because, in a funny sort of way, it's the reverse of what you said. You know, our songs went over there, and they gave them back to us like that.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, but now I think it's a link, and it's something you understand, and it's something, you know, you can hear even in modern Scots artists.
That's a spectacular observation. I'm really glad that you said that because it makes me feel really good, and that you guys feel the connection, and that we've not betrayed the influence. I also think that, you know, the rural roots and the human experiences that had to do with kind of country hardship and endurance and reward and all of those things wrap up into packages that we can look at and go, that's a piece of me. When you create and you have the country paintbrush in your hand, so to speak, and you know that you have, this is your color palette. This is you speaking in your native emotional language. What is it you think that you would like to do next if I forced you to do something different? If I said, Raie, America loves this album. We want you to do something bigger, more adventurous, maybe go a little less inside as you've done on this record, but reach out to the world. How do you do that? And what would you do? And what would you like in your toolbox? Because I'm giving you unlimited budgets for all of these questions.
Yeah.
Hire Wes.
I'm cheap.
I definitely get on board some other country sounds and players who play country instruments that are not so commonly played here, and types of fiddle, lap guitars, that kind of thing. I think that would feel great, and I think I would be definitely much more collaborating, definitely a lot more with Wes and Jon in terms of, what we're writing for and what we're writing about. I feel I'm the kind of person that if you give me a subject matter, I'm quite easy with a pen. I can get going with lyrics. It's not difficult for me. But I think if we were staying in the country genre, you're still talking stories and you're still talking protest, hardship, all those things that I personally in my own life have experienced a lot of. And my parents and family and friends, because of where we were raised and the life there. But I think that's something that I can connect to on a bigger scale. So not just musically, but in terms of topic. I mean, Wes and me we're writing something about Vietnam right now, which is quite interesting, isn't it, Wes? We're doing based on the Vietnam series that came on Netflix, and it just it blew both our minds, and we both kind of like talked about that and started writing some stuff. And I think but in terms of budget, I'd want to bring on players who understand those instruments in a way that maybe some of our English or British players don't quite understand, because they don't not really deeply seeped in that culture. It's not that available here. There are sections of the UK where you hear that music, but you kind of, if you go to Soho, you go to a blues club, for instance, and to some degree, you've got people like doing their 12 bar and they're really getting down and they love it all. But there's a little bit of a, with the greatest respect for some of the serious players I've heard there's a bit of a clique thing that goes on. So it's quite kind of, it's not about being difficult to access it or anything like that. It's more that you have to have a name for your music, and if it doesn't quite fit into that, you're not going to necessarily go down in that blues club and get heard. So I'm less keen on doing that kind of thing, and I'm more keen on just being heard around, because I think what we're writing and what we're creating is something bigger than that. It does feel like country music, but it does feel like Americana, and it feels like it could go more in that appeal to a bigger, wider audience than saying, okay, it's blues or something like that. Yeah. I don't know if I've answered your question.
You plenty.
Okay.
Wes, are you hearing those the voices of that kind of instrumentation in what you're creating with Raie now? And,
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've been sort of scraping away at that already, and yeah, I mean, I'm immediately thinking, pedal steel and all that stuff, and proper country fiddle and all that stuff. So, I mean, there are definitely serious nods to it on the album already. But, like Raie said, that there's a type of player and they live and breathe this shit, and you can't take that away. You can get close to it, but not quite.
Yeah.
But, I just have to put a massive shout out to John Klein on this one, because, he's English. He's an English player. He some people might know him from Susie and the Banshees. Other people might know him from Sinead O'Connor. He is a monster on a guitar, and you'll give him something and he'll go away and fucking master the shit out of it. But when I first met Jon, I wasn't aware he could play country licks. And then boom, he comes along and, he goes out and buys a damn Telecaster just for this gig.
Wow.
And,
he was waiting for the excuse.
he was waiting for the excuse. Of course he was waiting for the excuse. How many guitars do you need? Always one more. So, he went there and he did it, and he plays the hell out of that thing. And wow, hats off to that man, because wow, he brought America several steps closer.
Oh, totally. Yeah. He's a giant, and he's a wonderful guy to work with. Really wow, into the detail. And, we kind of gave him the role of MD on the live gig for the launch, and it was just wonderful. He really pulled everything together in such a way that the closeness to the album itself is just superb. You're not listening to live music that's like, oh, well, the album's really good, but when we heard the live band, Raie, it's not like that. It really was superb. Great guy to work with.
And now you've got an actual American in the band.
Yeah.
Jon Dunn. Jon Dunn, the second guitarist. He doesn't sound American, but he's actually from New Jersey.
I didn't know that. Wow.
He likes to keep that quiet, but sorry, Jon, it's out.
Everybody
Yeah.
in New Jersey likes to keep that quiet.
Well, we're closer still then. We're closer still. But a lovely player as well, really lovely player, and new in the band. And I met him through Wes, and he came, and it was kind of like, I think he felt he was auditioning or something, but I'd already knew it'd be cool because Wes recommended him. But he came and played in my house just on a couple of songs, and I was blown away by how in touch he was. But also, again, I'm really just so touched by how much work both Jon Klein and Jon Dunn put into, learning the material and bringing it to a really kind of high energy, polished, beautiful vibe for the launch. So much work went in, and I'm so moved by that. I'm just this girl from Hamilton near Glasgow who just writes songs, and suddenly, all these people are like getting involved. It's wonderful. It is pretty magic, actually. I really feel that.
So it sounds like a tour is coming together. Is that right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
A lot of really strong, beautiful minds, commitment, skill, imagination, a lot of stuff that making it work.
Wes, are you involved in the live adventure?
I was at the album launch. I did front of house for that. I'll try and be as much as I can. If I'm around, I'll be on there because I like doing front of house.
We want yeah, on front of house, definitely.
Raie, what do you have planned for the tour? How far are you going? Where are you going? What are you looking forward to?
We've got some gigs. We just heard from Loud in London, and they're offering us quite a few nice gigs. But they've got this. I think it's going to be an ongoing thing, because once you commit to one gig, a lot of people that set gigs don't want you playing anything either side of the gig for a few days. It's just about audiences, because that's an issue in London. It's definitely an issue. There's a saturated situation going on. So that's wonderful that they're interested, because they're fixers, and they'll get us some nice gigs to kick off the album, I suppose. So we've got the Bedford, which is wonderful, on the 12th of March. We've got a lovely little venue in Kentish Town in London, a very well-known music venue called the Map Caf, on the 2nd of May. And then it looks like we might be doing the 22nd of April at O2 Islington. We're just waiting on confirmation. It's all kind of London-based at the minute, which is cool. Then I've just contacted a few festivals, Red Rooster Festival. There's a festival in Birmingham, a folk festival. And when we have folk festivals here, they're not strictly folk. You could go and play the kind of stuff we play, but because some of it's a little bit downbeat and maybe more intricate in terms of instruments like a flugelhorn or a violin, that attracts those kind of listeners. I think that there's a big widespread of instrumentation on the album, and I think that makes it interesting for different genres venues and festivals that get set up, we can fit into those pictures really.
So you're using that variety of instrumentation in the live show as well.
We used it in launch, and,
Wow.
and it was beautiful. Yeah, the sound in the launch was wonderful, and we're hoping to get at least flugelhorn, keys, and all those kind of things on at the Bedford. It's a packed night that night. But when we get to Mapcaf, the place is ours for the whole night, and we'll get pretty much the same thing, the album on there. Might have to invite people often on the stage because it's not that big, but it's a lovely venue. I think the music works very well in intimate settings too, just because of the storytelling. That feels nice.
All
Yeah,
right.
all the songs stand as acoustic versions as well. So
Yeah. We've done a couple just leading up to the launch. We did about 4 or 5 acoustic gigs, and that was with like bass and acoustic guitar, or bass, acoustic, and electric, and 2 backing singers, no kit, and that went down really well. People loved it. So yeah.
Mark of a great song, right? Strip it down to its necessities and see how you can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it really is 4 chords and the truth. We'll know.
Yeah, and you're so right. That is true. Yeah.
Terrific. I just want to point our listeners one last time, raiemusic.com, RAIE music.com. Get there, read the bio, listen to the music, go to SoundCloud, buy Ray's album, enjoy it if you want to hear what she's captured in a beautiful life experience, captured ably and beautifully by our friend Wes Maebe. And as we button up here, my one last question to you is, and I'll ask you both, starting with you, Wes, who should buy this record? What type of listener is going to most benefit from hearing Ray?
I think that's a wide variety of people. I mean, initially when you hear it, you think, "Oh, this is kind of mature music." So we're probably talking a slightly older generation. But then once you start getting into the topics and the lyrics and some of the issues that are being tackled, this is for everybody. I mean, a lot of the songs are about young people, like Blackbird. One of the songs is about, young grime kids on the estate, on the projects, just writing their raps and listening to the Blackbirds, inspiring them and stuff like that. So it should be bought by anybody who likes music, Let's stop compartmentalizing. Like Ray said earlier, there's no point in compartmentalizing. There's no point in saying, I only like hip hop, I only like blues, I only like jazz. You need to broaden your horizons, and all of us need to do that. I had to do that as well for my job. There's people who only deal with metal, for example, or just classical music. I love dealing with all of them because they cross over, they all inspire each other. So, just open the floodgates and let it come in. You'll never know what you're going to like.
Okay. As much as I support that behavior, and everybody should expose themselves to something new and find the greatness in things other than what you're familiar with. Ray, let me ask you the question a little differently. Who are you singing to?
I'm singing to people who want to hear stories that open up their heart. They maybe open up their view of the world. I'm singing to people who want an experience that takes them somewhere in their imagination or helps support the cares that they have about the world. I feel like I'm singing to people of all ages, and actually my audiences are all ages. I really do get a very big cross section of people, and also from different cultural backgrounds as well, because some of the issues that I tackle involve issues around race. I celebrate my age, but I feel like age is something that music transcends. If someone's speaking the truth about something, if we're telling the truth, or we're probing into something with color and visions and images and words that test and tackle, we're going to touch people. So I feel like the music is for people who want to listen to the truth. That's really what I'm going to say. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, one last time, listeners, RaieMusic.com, SoundCloud, to hear what's coming from Raie and Wes. And I really am honored that you guys would do this show with me. Raie, thank you very much. And Wes, always thank you, man.
Always a pleasure, man.
Thank you, John.